Hi, I'm Jeff Murrah. I want to welcome you to True Texas History, where today we will talk about Santa Anna's surrender and Vincente Filisola. I felt like this is a good day to deal with it because, it was on April the 23rd, 1836 that word of Santa Anna's surrender as well as one of the treaties of Velasco were presented to Filisola, and some decisions were made. Okay, first of all, let's get to the surrender of Santa Anna. We've all seen the pictures of, Sam Houston laying there by the big oak tree over there near San Jacinto with the broken leg and what all transpired. But let's take a closer look because history books often leave this part out. And my source was from some documents that I found from people that were there, first-hand reports. Okay, let me go ahead and set the stage for you. Some of the Texian soldiers had captured Santa Anna and they were bringing him in, and there was just this feeling like something was stirring in the air. There was something different about him. And George, and at that point, they recognized who it was, and it was George Washington Hockley and Major Ben Fort Smith. Those are the two that went ahead and figured out who their prisoner was, and it was Santa Anna. Now, Major Ben Fort Smith, he was the uncle of Frank Terry of Terry's Texas Rangers. And Hockley had a community named after him. Okay, they took him to Houston. They escorted him, and Hockley addressed Houston. General Houston, here is Santa Anna. El Presidente de Mexico, Comandante el Jefe de Escarceri de Operations y Mopongo de la disposición del galante General Houston y ser tratado como se debe sur un general cuando es prisoner de guerra. And about that time, Lorenzo de Zavala arrived to serve as translator, and Santa Anna expressed displeasure at De Zavala. They were political enemies going way back, and he did not want De Zavala being the translator. And they had a few sharp words with each other. After the two of them disagreed, Houston asked Santa Anna what happened at the Alamo. And he mumbled something in Latin. Houston got even more agitated. He wanted to know what happened at Goliad. And Santa Anna again mumbled something in Latin, and Santa Anna at that point requested some opium. Now, after bringing the opium to him, they began discussing the events. And I find that this was an interesting part because they leave out the drug use from all your Texas history stories. But I think it says more about Santa Anna than you were previously aware of. Now, Santa Anna did say to Houston, "You were born to no ordinary destiny. You have conquered the Napoleon of the West." Now, among those that were present when this whole episode occurred, there was Juan Seguin. Now, Juan is the only person that had been a veteran on the Texas side that fought at San Jacinto and at the Alamo, so he has that unique distinction. Now, it was also conferred upon Deaf Smith to take Santa Anna's orders because Sam Houston had Santa Anna draw up some orders to withdraw all his forces. So he did so, and Deaf Smith took those orders to the Mexican forces because Santa Anna had split off from the main army, and there were some more forces under Vincente Filisola, who was his second in command. And Vincente on this date received word of Santa Anna's defeat, saw some of the retreating soldiers and the bad morale that they were in, and he was faced with a decision at that point. Should he go ahead and honor Santa Anna's request and start withdrawing, or should he go ahead and go on a campaign to try to push the Texans all the way to America? It was a tough choice. Now, Filisola was no slouch. Of course, he's an interesting guy in and of himself. I mean, he was born in Italy, raised in Spain, fought in the Napoleonic Wars over in the Spanish Peninsula, then came over to Mexico and fought for Spain there, and then switched sides, fought for Mexico. When the whole idea of the Central American Republic came about, he took an army, occupied Guatemala City, and essentially kind of took over large parts of Central America, claiming it as part of Mexico. So this was a man well acquainted with warfare, and he knew what all was involved. Santa Anna did not make a mistake in putting Filisola his second in command. And Filisola had been with Iturbide and some of the other Mexican leaders in the various ups and downs of Mexican politics and military events. Excuse me. This is not the time to go into all the Mexican history, but enough to be said that he was well acquainted with things. Filisola went ahead and his army, they were camping at the grounds of an inn. The rain was pouring down. It was bad weather. The rivers were overflowing. He felt as though it was in their best interest. Now, when he got further on the way, several days later, the Mexican government sent official notice to him that he was to continue the Texas expedition, and he decided that the army was in too bad a shape and too bad a morale to continue the expedition. Now, although he was not at San Jacinto at all, years later, Santa Anna held him responsible for the defeat at San Jacinto. Santa Anna is such a nice guy, when he got to Mexico, they did have a court-martial about his decision to go ahead and remove the Mexican troops from Texas. The court-martial held him not guilty. They felt as though he made a reasonable command and made a reasonable decision given the circumstances. So that gives you some background as to Santa Anna's surrender and what the situation was like on this day back in 1836. I hope that you enjoyed it. If you have any questions, I'll get back to you later. Let's see. Yeah, Santa Anna definitely had to have me blaming everyone but himself. When you're the Napoleon of the West, you got to have somebody to blame it on, I guess. But until next time, this is Jeff Morrow wishing you vaya con Dios, my friends. If you have any questions, concerns, leave them below. I'll be glad to get to them. We'll have more for you next week. Talk to you later. Bye.